Hey guys, welcome back to another Helix video. Got a new patch today. This one is very much focused on using snapshot control and incorporating that with the Variax to kind of give you a jack of all trades patch. And this one incorporates a looper. So the reason I built this was to be able to kind of do all kinds of fun looping stuff within one patch and be able to build acoustic and bass and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to do this one a little bit backwards than how I normally do things. Normally I go to great lengths to explain the patch and then play. I'm actually just going to go ahead and play some sound examples for you and then go back and talk about the patch and how the patch is built and give you some idea of the construction so you can take it and run with it and make it your own. So anyway, I'm going to play a little bit and then we'll get to the all the explanation bits here very shortly. Here we go. Okay, so that should give you a pretty good idea of kind of what I'm going for with this patch. There's acoustic elements, bass elements, some sitar, some pads, and then of course the electric guitar stuff. So let me just kind of quickly go through the different snapshots, explain what they're doing, and then kind of get into the details. First of all, in the global settings, the way I personally have my Helix set up is to display 8 snapshots, and then when I flip into manual mode to have 10 pedals. So that's just the way I like to do it. I tend to stay in one preset for any given song, any given set, really. I'm really, if I can help it, I don't like switching presets. I did a whole gig a couple weeks ago and literally put everything into one preset using Snapshots. So that's just the way I like to set up my global settings. So if you want to use this exactly how I am, that's what I'm doing. So on the regular mode where you see the 8 snapshots, I've got the clean setting, clean with delay, with a crunch, and a lead sound. I've got an ambient tone. Okay, then I've got a sitar. And an acoustic guitar. Then a bass guitar. So those are the 8 snapshots. Obviously, like I said, I'm using Variax, so I have the input set to Variax. You can also set it to multi, but I have the snapshots handling things like on the bass guitar snapshot, everything's tuned down an octave, and it's a particular model, and then the EQ and studio pre-change to fit, better with the bass guitar. With the acoustic, things change to fit the acoustic guitar, so forth and so on. One thing I will say, if you're going to use this with your Variax, I have done a bit of customizing as far as what comprises my custom banks. I've moved things around. As for example, I didn't use the Telecaster setting as much as the acoustic setting, so I moved all my acoustic patches, if you will, to the Tele bank, so they'd be physically closer on the knob. So when I go to the acoustic snapshot, you'll see that it's the T model. So I mean, I've gone into Workbench and customized all this. So if you're going to use this patch, just make sure you set the Variax model in each snapshot to what it needs to be for your Variax. So not very hard to do. Just go in and make sure it matches up with how yours is set up. So anyway, so that's pretty much it on the when you flip over to manual mode. I have pretty much everything able to be controlled. I've got a foot switch for the auto filter. The wah can be turned on with the expression pedal. The 2 drives are assigned to pedals. These 2 delays are assigned to pedals. The ambient stuff is assigned to a pedal. The delay on the acoustic / sitar line is assigned to a pedal. And then also I have a volume pedal that I've assigned. And the only time I use that volume pedal is to fade out loops. So if I'm just playing and I have delays on and so forth, where if I want to pull the volume pedal back, I want the delay to keep going. So that's why this volume pedal is up here, and that's basically controlling the volume for the guitar signal. Like if the delays are on, that's not affecting that. But if I'm looping, I can just turn that volume pedal on, and I can fade out the entire loop that way. So that's why that's there. So basically in manual mode, all 10 pedals are doing something, and then in snapshot mode, all 8 snapshots are doing something. If you're not a Variax user, basically 4 of the snapshots will, possibly 5, count the ambient thing, but 4 of the snapshots will be useful to you. So you can still use this patch. You just can kind of ignore the acoustic, bass, and sitar snapshots. But if you are a Variax user, it's kind of cool to have those on tap. As with all my patches, these in my mind are kind of, they work well for me, but I look at them as templates for you guys. You really need to think about what you want to accomplish, and they're put out as like a starting point. Like look at it, think about how it's put together, think about how you want to use it, and go from there and make it your own. I'm real big on that. Like, find your own tone. Learn to think about this stuff yourself and how to put this stuff together. If I'm going to mention a couple of kind of quirky things as I was building this patch, one thing I noticed that was a little bit strange was some behavior I didn't expect. For instance, when I had the acoustic model turned on, of course, I'm selecting the Variax model. On the clean and crunch and lead, I have it also selecting the Variax model, but I left the clean with delay, don't force specifically to show you what happens. Like, I just came from the acoustic setting, so it stayed on the acoustic, which in my mind, if it's set to don't force, it should probably reflect what is physically set on the Variax. So just letting you know that, if you have it set to don't force, it's going to stay on whatever you had it set to last. So now if I go to the clean setting, which forces it to a strat neck, and then go back to the clean with delay, it stays on the strat neck, that's fine. But coming from acoustic, that's kind of weird. Also, like, same thing with the tunings. Like with the bass, I have it set to force an octave down, obviously, so it's a bass guitar. But I had kind of assumed if I set it to don't force on another snapshot, it would just go back to regular, but found that I had to actually force a tuning to tell it to go back to regular. So I don't know if that's by design or kind of a quirky thing that maybe will get fixed in a future firmware update, but just want to make you aware of those couple of things. If you're programming this, it can get a little weird. Basically, in other words, if you're doing Variax snapshots, you really have to just spell it out. Just make sure that you are very specific in telling the Helix what you want. As long as you do that, you're golden. Everything's beautiful and works perfectly, and snapshots are brilliant. So anyway, I hope all that made sense. I hope this patch is useful. Like I said, if you're not a Variax user, you can still use 4 or 5 of the snapshots as they are, and then just do something else with the other ones. Have some fun with it. If you are a Variax user, like I said, just make sure you go into the Variax model settings and make sure it lines up with how you have your particular Variax set up as far as what's in your custom bank or where your acoustic is and so forth and so on. Anyway, so with all those caveats and disclaimers out of the way, hopefully this will be a fun preset for you. I can see personally getting a lot of use out of this for doing live looping and creating songs on the fly, and really cool stuff. The new firmware is super cool with the snapshots, very flexible. Just great stuff, man. Just a lot of fun. Big thanks to Line 6 for making such a fun product, and all the things that I used to wish I could do with the HD500, Helix lets me do. So loving all that. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. This is you do have to do a little bit of tap dancing to go from snapshot mode to manual mode to get to the looper and back to snapshot mode if you're going to try to recreate what I did in the beginning. So it does take a little getting used to, but I think it's worth the effort. But anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. Hope you enjoy this patch. Play around with it, make it your own, tweak it, have some fun with it. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.